Good evening. Before we call this meeting to order, the mayor has a presentation of proclamation. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So coming up here to join me is Lori Blanton and Susan Waldrop with the American Cancer Society. And they had contacted, ladies, we'll get y'all to come right over here. The council always lets us stand with their back to them. Okay. Since everyone else
we're not offended by that at
all. But we trust them, so we're in good shape. So, so I think Councilor Wright had requested the proclamation, so I'd like to read this. This is a proclamation for the National Colorectal Cancer Month. Whereas March is the National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States among men and women combined, no cure, and whereas 1 in 20 men and 1 in 24 women will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer in their lifetime, and whereas there are now more than 1 million survivors of colorectal cancer in the United States, and whereas the national goal established by the National Colorectal Council Roundtable is 80% of Americans age 50 or older be screened in every community, and whereas about 1 in 3 adults between 50 and 75, about 23 million people, are not getting tested as recommended, and whereas when adults get screened for colorectal cancer, it can be detected early and treatment is most likely to be successful. In most cases, it can be prevented completely. And whereas it's critical that all people of all ages know the signs and symptoms of the disease, and whereas the American Cancer Society established Go Blue Day as a concentrated effort to raise awareness of colorectal cancer and to motivate unscreened individuals to talk to their primary health care provider about screening options. Now, therefore, I, Scott McBrayer, Mayor of the City of Homewood, hereby proclaim the month of March 2019 as National Colorectal Cancer Month in the City of Homewood, and encourage citizens to go blue on Friday, March 1st by wearing blue and participating in additional awareness activities. And ladies, thank you so much for your efforts and all that you're doing to help save the lives of people who probably don't even realize it yet. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
thank
ladies.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to begin with an invocation that Robert Burgett has agreed to offer, our finance director, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me.
Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for the beauty and majesty of this world that you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity to care for this world that you've blessed us with. We ask you for your vision tonight to guide us in the work we're here to do, influence our work, influence our lives. God, let us share the love that you've given us with others as we leave this place. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Burgett. We appreciate it. Ms. Salter, roll call.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gwaltney?
Here.
Mr. Thames?
Here.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Here.
Mr. Wolverton?
Here.
Mr. McCluskey?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Wyatt?
Here.
Mrs. Andress?
Here.
Mr. Wright? And President Limbaugh.
Here. So we
Have a
do have a
quorum.
quorum. Thank you very much. All right. First item of business is the reading of the minutes from January 28th, 2019. Chair would welcome a motion and a second for dispensing of that reading and approval of said minutes.
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Wyatt. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved. All right, and then the minutes from February 11th, 2019. Again, the chair would welcome a motion for dispensing of the reading and approval of said amendments.
So moved again.
A motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. White. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that too is approved. All right, we're going to move on to board vacancies. We have the Ward 4 Homewood Environmental Commission vacancy. We held interviews, several of us. And Ms. Smith or Mr. White, do we have a recommendation?
We would recommend Marcy Miller to fill the position for Ward 4.
All right, so we hear, I assume, a motion and a second from Ms. Smith, from Mr. White and Ms. Smith for a recommendation. Are there any comments or questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And Ms. Miller, since you're in the audience, that's unanimous, so congratulations. As we like to say, tag, you're it. No, seriously, we appreciate so much your willingness to serve. The BZA Ward 2 nominations closed today. Mr. Higginbotham, how many did we have?
Mr. Chairman, to the best of my knowledge, we just had a single person apply, is that correct?
That's correct. So
Mr. Wolverton was going to make a motion regarding
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wolverton.
We were going to make a motion to appoint Beverly LaBeouf to a second term.
Great. So I was going to say that's a motion by Mr. Wolverton, second by Mr. Higginbotham. Any further discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved. Now, historic preservation closed today as well. I understand there were two. Who am I looking at? You, Ms. Smith?
I don't think the ward is Ward 4. Yes, Ward 4 is.
Well,
Ward 5
No.
is.
No, Ward 5. It's
Ward
Ward
5.
5.
Yeah.
So there's two applicants, or are y'all gonna schedule? Okay.
We are. Do we ever hear back from the third applicant?
I haven't checked my email since we've been in committees. I know I had somebody that expressed interest, but I hadn't received a resume in committees. But I know we at least had two, possibly three.
We definitely have two, and we thought we had a third, so we do need to go ahead and schedule those interviews.
Great. Ms. Salter, we'll count on you to help us with those
I'll get
timing.
you back the date.
Okay.
Great, thank you. All right. We have 7 items to add to our agenda. So let me,
President LeBlanc, can I interrupt one second?
Yes, certainly.
We needed to open an at-large, Ms. Andreas. Okay.
For the Arts Council. Let's see, shoot.
okay. So how long are we opening that for?
We have an applicant, is that right? I thought, did she mention 2 applicants or just one?
Just one.
We don't have 2 positions that are open, just one?
We have one position, and then the other one, y'all moved them to Ward 2, so her at-large is vacant because she
Okay,
moved
so-
to the Ward 2 slot. So we have one at-large
Okay,
of the Homewood Arts Advisory.
okay. Yes, so we have one, and so do we want to open that up for
Just
a few weeks?
Let's open it up through the 18th of March.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, items to add to the agenda. Here we go. 010219, request to authorize the mayor to sign an annual contract renewal for uniforms with Cintas, requested by Gordon James with our fleet maintenance. That is, what is that, new business? Ms. Salter? Old business, yes, okay. Thank you, keep me straight. 030219, request to authorize the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with AT&T to interface 911 phone controller with the new phone system, requested by Brandon Broadhead in our fire department. 110219, request for consideration of declaring the following vehicle surplus: 2006 Ford 500 with the serial number ending in 187712, assigned to the IT department, again from Gordon James, our fleet maintenance. All right, from special issues, again, old business, 240119, request for consideration to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Alabama Historical Commission to establish Homewood as a certified local government. This is requested by the Homewood Preservation Commission and Barry Smith. And Let's see, 2 items of new business. 2002-19, request for consideration of an ABC 020 restaurant retail liquor license for the Grocery Beer Pub LLC, doing business as the Grocery Beer Pub, located at 2823 Central Avenue, Suite 107, requested by Melody Salter, our city clerk. All right, 2102-19, request to change the dates of the March council meetings to March 11th and March 18th due to spring break, requested by myself. And finally, a committee referral item, 2202-19. This is removal of is it a city light or multiple city lights? One city light on Ventura, requested by Chris Tucker, and this will go to Public Works.
President
Yes.
Limbaugh, can I make a point?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I noticed the last 2 items under other new business are both 1902-19. They both
No,
have,
I'm
they
sorry.
they have the same item number.
No, one was 2002-19.
No. The ones that are already on the existing agenda, the voucher item and the item right above it are both 1902-19.
Oh.
We need to,
We need to make that 2302.
yes.
Yes, let's do that. So we'll make the invoices,
Yeah,
we'll change the invoices to 2302-19 if we can.
thank you.
Hold on. Thank you for catching that. We appreciate it. Okay, hold on. You are exactly right. No.
I still don't see it.
Well, show me again. Hold on.
last 2 items on
last 2 items
the other new business,
Have the same number.
they have the same number.
At the very end of the
Well, but see, she and I have,
But I had it 2002 and 2102. I had 1902 as the vouchers, and then I had 2002 as the ABC,
Yeah.
and then I had 2102 as
what
the
do y'all
March
say?
council.
We're saying 20, they're right there together.
What happened is, Ms. Salter, they've got an old copy where 1802 is listed as 1902.
Okay, well, because we,
No, we have 1802 also.
Okay. Yeah. Let's keep, the simplest way to do this, Ms. Salter, is to change the request for the approval of vouchers from 1902 to 2302, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
so done.
All right, so that's our changes, and Chair would welcome a motion and a second for approval of the amended agenda. Motion from Mr. Waltney, second from... Second from Ms. Andrus, okay? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much, and that is approved. All right, we move on to the consent agenda. There's no items, so therefore we will skip that over. So we'll jump right into old business agenda 2010-18, consideration to condemn the house at 1627 Salter Road, requested by Wyatt Pugh. We have carried this one over at least twice. Mr. Pugh, give us an update.
To give you the update as requested, I went by today and took some pictures. I spoke with Mr. Pears, who informed me that the few remaining items that are in there are going to be parted out among family members. Those are items that are promised to various family members. It's hard to tell from this picture, but the ceiling has effectively been removed, leaving only the steel bar joists. It's not a dangerous situation any longer. May not be visually beautiful, but it's not dangerous. So in my mind, from where I'm coming from, it's no longer a nuisance. It's no longer a danger. It's a danger to the extent of being a public nuisance. In addition to speaking with Mr. Pears, he sent his son also, Matt, if you had any questions about how they plan to move forward. They do have plans to move forward and make some
Mr. Pears, I've got one
improvements.
question. Can you come forward? Just one. So you've moved the red Cherokee, which is a good thing. But
Well, it's
But I
It's on
see
the
it,
front.
and that was,
Yes, sir.
thank you. That was going to be the rest of my comment. It's now on the road, so.
That's
we're-
correct.
Look, no offense to the additional pieces of tape or whatever on the side, but that's a little bit disconcerting. What's the game plan?
So I'm assuming you want that Jeep removed?
Yes.
From the house premise?
Well,
So is in the
or
driveway?
you can come repair it at Lombard Toyota, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Is in the driveway acceptable? So if we were to keep it in Homewood at that residence, would in the driveway be acceptable to council?
Well, then that leads to a second question. I said I only
Okay.
had one. Are y'all planning on keeping the home in the family? Is that the game
Yes,
plan?
it is. And so no one will deny how unfortunate this situation is, right? It was never the intention to get this far. So at this point, work needs to be done. The work is being addressed. And it's just taken, a slower time than, we would like for it to. Now, I know that when the targeted date, when we had the targeted date to do all the work, it was a terrible storm, it was raining, but we still managed to do the work. We wanted to do more, we were unable to. But other family members, since my grandmother's passing, have to come to the house to take their items, their belongings. It got to a point where we were unable to finish the job. Some of those items left around the house, are theirs. And so as far as the red Jeep, I can't really make any promises.
I understand.
We've all, we've all said our piece in regards to where that Jeep probably needs to go, even our family. But, I think the intention is to either, move it from Salter. My dad lives in Huntsville now. So I think there are plans for it. But
Good.
I think at the minimum, if I'll just add, I think at a minimum, it could be moved, underneath the carport.
Right. Thank you. What was your recommendation, Mr. Pugh?
I would have to recommend that it be dropped at this point.
Okay, good. Council, any questions? Any recommendations?
I have a question for my
Sure,
counterperson
go.
Ward 4. Have you heard from any surrounding neighbors?
Actually, I did hear from several, I know the lady who lives right across the street, across Windsor, and everybody did say that they were very glad to see that the
Yeah.
roof had been torn down. I think that was obviously one of the things that was making it more of an eyesore,
Sure.
because it looked like it caught fire and was just hanging there.
Oh, yeah.
So I think they were appreciative that, and they were also appreciative that the yard had been cleaned up and some trash had been removed. So I think overall, the people are pleased to see progress being made.
So, if I may.
Sure, Ms.
So,
Squalton.
progress has been made. I guess the concern I can see next would be, will progress continue in the sense that at least the yard will be maintained?
Yes.
We're not gonna have windows broken and people getting into the house. Because if we drop it, we'd have to start the process back over. And not saying we want to do that, but we don't want that to restart, just because it's not fun for you to be up here and have to come see us again. But we just want to make
Sure.
sure that it has some progress.
No, that's understandable. Yeah, sure. And so, I think part of the reason why this property got to where it is now is because of, not to make excuses, but because of, my grandparents' health and
Sure.
and then really just the unwillingness of some family members to do their part. And so now that, I hate to say it, but that burden is gone, we can effectively, manage the property so that we don't continue to have issues. If there are broken windows, they are taken care of. High, it gets cut. Hopefully it doesn't even get high. But there are plans to improve the residents, over time, beyond what you see today.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we have any other?
I would move to follow Mr. Pugh's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Smith. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Wyatt, I'm sorry. If there are no other comments, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 2010-18 is dropped. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. I appreciate it, sir. All right, 130119, public hearing continued for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 1651 Independence Drive. Mr. Cobb, have you heard from anyone else on this? Mr. Brandt, if I remember correctly, was the young man's name.
I spoke with Mr. Brandt today, he said there were still some more decisions to be made, and he would like to carry it over again. As you know, what he's doing is putting together a consigned package for the whole building, and hopefully his goal is that if that is approved by the council, then as each business comes or goes, those signs could come and go with them and not have to come before council each time.
Well,
something we haven't done, but Birmingham has.
Let me just say it to be expeditious. We can carry it over one more time, but we need to hear something in the next 2 weeks, okay?
I understand.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. 070, yes? I'm sorry. Okay. Well, one more time. 070219, public hearing set for tonight for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 2830 16th Place South, requested by Jonathan Kelly and Greg Cobb with BEZ. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Fence.
This
I'm
is a
sorry.
fence ordinance.
Sorry. Fence ordinance. Report from Special Issues, Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee met tonight and voted to send this out without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight. Motion was made by Mr. Waltney and seconded by Mr. Higginbotham, and the vote was 5-0 to send it out without recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. We'll open the public hearing. Comments, we'll start with you, Mr. Kelly. Speak into the mic, please.
Sure. So I was just wanting to put in a privacy fence in my backyard and contacted Greg and kind of talked through, the process, and he advised it needed to be placed on the agenda. So I did that and presented to the council earlier, and I guess that's kind of.
If I may, the survey showing on the screen right now that we looked at earlier in committee looks like he's actually out in the road. But if we could go to the next photo of his yard, it'll show you the stakes that he has put up to where the fence would like to be located in relation to that one. Yes, sir, if we blow that up. You see that to the left there's an orange stake, actually a stake with an orange flag on it.
It's at the corner now.
It's down in the bottom corner of the screen.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Don't make it go away, Brian.
This was early this morning when I made these photos, but that's where he would like his fence corner to be. It's some distance off the street, but not 15 feet behind. If you on the corner lot, if you took it 15 feet, he would have a really long, skinny fence in the backyard. I made another photo looking from the other direction that shows that it's not a traffic hazard due to the street corner. That's from up there, actually at the street corner, looking back at his house. And he'll be way to the right of that tree, and he's probably 50 feet away from the street corner, so it wouldn't impede the vision of anybody coming down the street.
Nor the individual that owns that white SUV that would be backing
yes,
out.
sir. If we could zoom up just a little bit, Brian. Zoom in on towards that back. You can see where it lines up in relation to where that car is. So a car, that's my truck in there too. If the car was backing up, it's going to end up on that right there by the sidewalk, and you would have ability to see down the street before it starts blocking your view.
All right. So your recommendation, Mr. Cobb?
I don't think it's a traffic hazard. I know it's not going to block any of the traffic at all. It might make the neighbor be a little more careful about backing up, but we also do not have any sidewalk that goes beyond there on his property, adjacent to his property. Because it wasn't practical to go from there to the street, you could go from there to his driveway, and the terrain gets to where it's not very workable, so you wouldn't be concerned about pedestrians coming down the sidewalk. It's not there.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Wolverton?
Just to, this picture's fine. Just to try and clarify here, the stakes that are out there, are those survey stakes, or are those stakes theorizing where the fence line would be?
That's for you.
They are survey stakes, and also would want to put the fence up to that point and keep it curved, in the same curve of the road.
So just to clarify, I know we had an issue with a fence ordinance or variance that we were looking at with another neighbor that had a compost pile, and there was some discrepancy about the distance off of the roadway and the right-of-way. So are we needing to grant a variance for both the proximity to the road as well as a front yard variance?
The ordinance doesn't speak to the road. The ordinance says 15 feet behind the property line, which would put it over there where the red chairs are.
Right.
But we're showing it right now, it's around 8 feet, something like that, off the road, maybe a little more. Should have put a rule on it this morning, but the reason there's a middle stake is there's a curve in his property line, so that's a point of curvature. That's what that center stake is.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Jones.
So if we did put the sidewalk, does that factor in? I mean,
We could continue the sidewalk, but once you get it to his driveway, if you'll zoom out, Brian, please.
here,
See what happens there? You've got a big wall and a hillside there. So it'd be very difficult to, well, I can do anything, but not enough money. But
Right,
I mean,
I understand.
well, you would end up with a retaining wall going parallel to the street for your sidewalk.
Well, and then once you hit the corner, 16th place south.
Then there's not any sidewalks there either.
correct. Okay, I just wanted to.
Right, yeah, if it was a connector to the sidewalk, it would make sense to put a retaining wall there and connect to 16th and keep going on 16th.
Thank you.
So are you planning to go basically intersect the tree? Like
Correct.
tee it up with the tree?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen. Anyone else? I'm sorry. Ms. Andrews, you were, okay, good. Anyone, thank y'all. You can be seated. Anyone else who wants to speak to this issue? If not, we will close this public hearing and welcome a motion in a second. Motion by Mr. Gwaltney, second by Mr. Thames. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. She does.
No, I don't think the survey is in.
Have you got the survey, Mr. Cobb?
I'll go upstairs and print it I can print it tonight. Okay, I'll print it out for you.
That'll be Resolution 1924. Next item is 120219, public hearing set for tonight for consideration of a variance to the fence ordinance at 1090, requested by Marcy Miller. Greg Cobb, report from Special Issues, Ms. Smith.
Yes, also was addressed in our meeting earlier tonight, and we once again voted to send it out without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight. Mr. McMotion and Mr. Higginbotham seconded it, and it was a 5-0 vote.
Thank you, ma'am. We will now open this public hearing and begin with Mr. Cobb, followed by Ms. Miller.
This is a continuation of the one we saw last week, and here's a copy of her survey. Her property iron is about 5 feet off the road, and the fence, if you're looking at the top left corner of her property, wait a minute, let me look. Yeah, that's right, top left corner is where that fence would be. When you see her property pin, her fence is 9.5 feet to the right of that, right over to the right of that, and that's also encompasses the compost bin that was in question. I believe Mr. Green, is that your neighbor? Yeah, he's not here tonight. Well, I asked him last week. That accomplished what his first request was, to put a fence up around that compost bin.
Right.
And this picture shows that what the work that she is doing covers the compost bin. Mr. Green told me he was happy with that. It's 9.5 feet behind the pin, which makes it 14.5 off the road.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, Ms. Miller? Any questions for Mr. Cobb or Ms. Miller as they're in front of us? That means you've already answered every question they had. Thank you. Y'all please have a seat. Anyone else who wants to speak to this matter, please come forward.
I'm going to have to go upstairs and print them.
With that,
I'll give the surveys to Ms. Salter tomorrow.
we will close this public hearing. And any other comments from the council? There being none, Chair would welcome a motion and a second for.
I would make a motion to approve.
Motion from Ms. Smith, second from Mr. Higginbotham. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is Resolution 1925, and that is approved. Next item is 010219, request to authorize the mayor to sign an annual contract renewal for uniforms with Cintas, requested by Gordon James and our Fleet Maintenance Department. Mr. Jones, report.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met tonight at 5 o'clock prior to the meeting here. The motion was approved 4-0 out of Finance at a cost of $6,864 annually, which is within budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We have the motion for Finance. Do we have any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is Resolution 1926, and it is approved. Next item is 030219, request to authorize the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with AT&T to interface 911 phone controller with the new phone system requested by Brandon Broadhead with our fire department. Mr. Jones, again, a report.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, voted 4-0 for approval of this. The entire amount is $7,626, and that is within our budget as well.
All right, thank you. We have the motion from Finance. Any comments or questions? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Mr.
And that
President,
is, I'm sorry,
I would like to abstain.
You're abstaining. So that's none in approval, none against, and one abstention, Ms. Salter.
Yes, sir.
And that'll be Resolution 1927, and it is approved. We'll move on to 110219, request for consideration to declare the following vehicle surplus. It's an 06 Ford 500, assigned to the IT department, again requested by Gordon James and Fleet Maintenance. Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The committee met, voted 4-0 to recommend declaring that vehicle surplus property and recommend an ordinance for that.
All right. So we have both a report and motion from Finance. First reading, Mr. Kendrick.
Yes, sir. Supervisor established and declared that the following described personal property of the city, police department is no longer needed for public or municipal purposes. 2006 Ford 500, the last four numbers of the VIN 7712. Section 2, the mayor and clerk be authorized and to direct the disposal of the property by conveying the property to Travelers Insurance Company in consideration of the payment of the value of the vehicle.
All right, thank you, sir. Chair would welcome a motion and a second for unanimous consent.
Second.
Motion from Mr. White, second from Ms. Smith. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gwaltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes.
Mr. Wolverton?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Andreas?
Yes.
And Mr. Limbaugh?
Yes. So this will be ordinance 2733. Chair would welcome a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Gwaltney. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Wolverton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gwaltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames? Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes.
Mr. Wolverton?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Andreas?
Yes.
And Mr. Limbaugh?
Yes. So 2733 passes 10-0. We move on to 240119, request for consideration to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Alabama Historical Commission to establish Homewood as a certified local government, requested by the Historical Preservation Commission and Barry Smith. Report, Ms. Smith.
Yes, we, in our special issues meeting tonight, we heard a presentation by Brittany Foley, who is a member of the, actually she's a former member of the Homewood Historical Preservation Commission, about the commission's desire to participate in the Certified Local Government Program that provides grants for certain preservation projects to qualifying city governments. We voted 5-0 to recommend approving the mayor to sign that contract. Mr. Higginbotham made the recommendation, made the motion, and Mr. Gwaltney was the second.
All right, so we have a motion from Special Issues. Do we have any other comments or questions? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's Resolution 1928, and that is approved 10-0. Thank you very much. Next item is committee referral agenda. Chair would welcome a motion for approval and a second. Motion from Mr. Higginbotham, second from Ms. Smith. Okay? Any discussion? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is approved. All right, other new business. 150219, request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the fence ordinance at 2617 18th Place South, requested by Bethel AME Church and Greg Cobb, and we will set that public hearing for March 11th at 6 p.m. 160219, request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the fence ordinance at 1518 Valley Place, requested by Bayless Yadel and Greg Cobb, and we will also set that public hearing for March 11th, 2019 at 6 p.m. 170219, request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 201. What?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
you are.
Our agenda's not the same numbers. So the Bethel AME Church on our agenda is 160219.
Okay.
So
well, this
I don't know
is
if that matters, but
We added one, so you must have an old copy, but so at this point, Mr. Limbaugh, can we just go by the numbers that you have on there?
yeah. We'll have to go by mine, the
Because
president.
copies you were given must have been old
Because
copies.
it's
it's 1702.
That's why I was confused earlier when you said that one.
Yes. So 170219 is a request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 201 Vulcan Road, requested by Robert Nars, Greg Cobb, and with our BEZ department. And we will.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yes.
going to be a fly too. So I assume all that changes all the numbers on the committee referral
It
agenda
does.
as well? Okay, thank you.
It just changed from there down because we added one. That's why y'all thought that 18 or 19 had been used before, but it changed.
There was two.
But we've already changed that one to
But
23.
I'll get you
so.
a new copy that he's
Gotcha.
going by
Okay,
this
so
tonight before I go.
1602 is now
I'll just
1702,
take
and
your word.
1702
You
is
just keep
1802.
going.
Thank you.
I don't really-
I appreciate it. I'm sorry.
No.
We added one on his, and so you must have gotten the old copy, so the new, but I'll send you what he's looking at before I go home.
Hey, Mr. Jones,
Yes, sir.
Miss Salter gets one mulligan, so.
Nope, no
In
problem.
golf
Sorry, it's my head
No,
cold.
she did, it wasn't her mistake. It was mine.
No, it's okay. All right, so that's 1702. Again, that is set for March 11th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Now, 160219, Ms. Salter, is this one, since you and I are in sync on numbers?
Yes, sir.
Are we carrying this one over?
Yes, sir. 180219 is the request for consideration for the lien, and we need to carry that one over to March 11th.
Okay, so we will carry over by my agenda, the 160219, which is request for consideration of adoption of a resolution placing a lien on the property located at 2531 18th Place South for the cost of abatement in the amount of $7,500. Okay? Next, 230219, request for consideration of approval of vouchers for a period of February 11th, 2019 through February 24th, 2019. Requested by our city treasurer and the finance department, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. Wright was very gracious, and he was out of town today, but he worked on the vouchers over the weekend. So he reported to me that he had gotten all questions answered from Mr. Burgett, so thank you for that. So I would make a motion from the floor to approve the vouchers for the period February 11th through the 24th.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Jones. Do we have a second? Second. Second from Mr. Higginbotham? Good. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is approved. All right, next, 200219, request for consideration of an ABC 020 restaurant retail liquor for the Grocery Brew Pub LLC DBA, the Grocery Brew Pub located at 2823 Central Avenue, Suite 107, requested by Melody Salter. City Clerk, I'm going to ask Mr. McCluskey, do we have any objections from Fire and Police?
No, Fire and Police have both sent their letters to Ms. Salter, so I would move to having no objection to the issuance of the license.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. McCluskey. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Wolverton. All right. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that is a voice approval, and that is unanimous. All right, 210219, request to change the dates of the March council meetings to March 11th and March 18th due to spring break. Trying to be sensitive to you folks that have children. Requested by myself. Chair would welcome a motion in a second. Motion from Mr. White, second from Mr. Jones. Any questions or discussion? If there is not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 10-0, and that is Resolution 1930. And that is all of our items tonight. Yes. Sure.
Just to clarify, the 201 Vulcan Road, I thought we had dropped that because we had not heard back from them in some time.
He's here.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we dropped it just because we hadn't heard anything, but.
It was dropped and now it's being added back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, let's see what transpires at the next meeting, okay? With that, Mayor? Okay, I'll remind y'all we have committee meetings next Monday night. Mr. Gwaltney.
I was going to simply mention to the council, if you get a chance, swing by the library and check out the Voices of Rosedale exhibit that's on loan until the end of this week, I believe. It's a pretty good exhibit in the gallery just past the front desk. Also, another item related to that, be sure to mark your calendars like we've already mentioned about the Rosedale Day of Service, April 13th.
Thank you. Mr. Thames, P&D.
Yes, sir. Looks like we have an item, and hear from the annexation issue as well. I assume we're doing 5 o'clock finance?
We are.
How long will you need, Mr. Jones? Okay, P&D, 5:30, just 15 minutes. And
All right.
no announcements, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thames. Mr. Higginbotham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the hardy few who made it out in the monsoon last week to our town hall meeting on Thursday night. We did have a well, I'll let Mr. Wolverton correct me if he feels I'm wrong. I thought we had a productive discussion. It was a lengthy discussion with 3 people. So, and it went on for about 90 minutes, but we got into some in-depth discussion items about the issues of concern to them, and it was a little bit different than when we have 20 people, but nevertheless, it was a productive evening, and I want to thank everybody who took time to come out in spite of the weather and express their point of view about things going on here in Homewood.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. Mr. Wolverton?
Nothing special, just a reminder that we have the Wine 10K this coming weekend that will start in our ward right by Patriot Park, and we'll finish down close to Brookwood and Target, but it's a fantastic race. It's fun. If you haven't done it, you can walk, you can jog, you can do whatever you want, except ride a bike. But it's a great course.
Can you mix walking, riding, and jogging?
Sure.
Great.
But they've got great festivities at the end and mimosas, and we've got Ash, I believe, is going to be doing some of the post-race food as well. So come on out and enjoy.
Thank you. Mr. McCluskey, is public safety meeting? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me take control here a second. Let's take this one step at a time. How long do you need, Mr. Thames? 15? So at 5:40, public safety, how long do you want, sir?
I don't want, I'm going to say 45 minutes, and I will keep everybody.
Why don't you say 50 minutes? Yeah,
Okay. We'll do that.
thank you. Anything else?
And that's it.
So
Okay,
what time
Mr.
did you
Jones?
set? 5:40?
5:40 to 6:30.
Okay.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you for amending the time for the meetings in March, because I am going to be doing spring break. My youngest Winston's going to be singing in Ireland. So
Whoa.
we're gonna
Fantastic.
hear him sing and everything, and he'll be on tour all over the country, so that'll be a lot of fun. So
Are you going to Dublin?
Going to
Trinity College. It's an incredible experience.
That's great. Other people tell me to go to the Guinness storehouse.
Well, only if you like dark beer. Only.
No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And I don't have anything else. One thing I will mention, thank you for presenting that, Mayor, because my doctor says he will not see me until I, do all the things that I need to do as an older person.
Welcome to 50.
So it just further solidified when you,
So
when
sorry.
you did that presentation that we all need to. You're not old enough yet, but
Oh, he is now. Yeah, he is.
Thank you. Nothing further on that high note.
Thanks.
Ms. Smith?
I'm going to start not with my meeting because I'm like Mr. McCluskey. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm going to give a pat on the back to Eagle Scout candidate Garrett Owen from Trinity's Troop 97. His Eagle project was to rehab one of the bridges in Overton Park. I don't know if y'all have driven by, but it looks fantastic. Now I'm just going to have to try to encourage them to do the other bridge too, out of the goodness of their heart, because I just think they did such an amazing job. And hopefully he will get approved for his Eagle very soon for completing that project in the middle of the monsoon, actually. And then I do have to have special issues, and I'm starting at 6:30. And in addition to other items I have, we're doing the iTools presentation, which Ms. Milam originally told me was going to be a 30 to 45-minute presentation, which I said was going to be 20 minutes. And
We'll bring
shorter.
sleeping bags that night.
Exactly. And then there's also the hotel, the long-term stay issue coming before us, which I assume will bring some folks out. So
So you need an hour.
I don't want to take an hour, but
You need an hour.
I'll just, I'm going to just go ahead and say an hour. I'm sorry. I just really, if those two things take 20 minutes each, I think I have 5 other issues that are also on the agenda.
That's what I mean. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. White, are you in charge of Public Works?
I think I am, and there are a couple items on there.
There are.
So we could either just start the morning or.
Or 7:30 at night.
No, we'll do 7:30. It shouldn't take long. Yeah.
Right. Mr. Jones?
You can do that at 5:15 if you want. I'm looking
Sure.
at my agenda. I think we can finish in 15 minutes. So
Okay.
if you want to do that at 5:15.
We'll set Public Works for 5:15 then.
Okay.
Great.
Fantastic. A couple other quick items. Don't forget that the chili cook-off is this weekend on Saturday, and that that Cornapalooza will be on St. Patrick's Day from 1 to 5 at Pizzeria GM. That's it.
Thank you. Right. Are y'all booked yet with your number of teams?
For Cornapalooza?
Yeah.
We can take just about as many teams as we can get. So I believe the number is, well, I don't know what the number is because they're meeting tonight to talk about it. I'm missing it. But there are a lot of teams, and I think we're trying to get up I think we can get up to 50 teams.
Okay.
So we've got space for more.
Thank you. Ms. Andrus?
I would like to thank HPD for looking out for us at our Steeple to Steeple 5K and 10K this weekend. We were also in West Homewood and came over to the Trinity campus, and it was a big hit. We had our second. We actually tied last year at the last minute. We ended up tying last year's numbers, and we're really appreciative of that. It was a great event. thanks to Seeds Coffee also for hosting us. On March the 16th at the high school is going to be the mattress sale fundraiser for the tennis team, the middle school teams, and the golf team. Is that right? So, yeah. So, is that not right? Okay, March 16th. Yes, it's also the same day as we'll be in Decatur for tennis. But please, if you need pillows or mattresses, please go to the high school and help out our teams. I want to thank the Hollywood Garden Club for having me and Chief Ross. We spoke there last week, and we had a great meeting with the women there. And I also want to say thank you to the Homewood Police Foundation. They made a donation to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation of Alabama for $1,155. And I am a breast cancer survivor and a former board member of that organization, so I'm very appreciative that they get your colonoscopy. Say thanks to that, and I want to tell you to get your colonoscopy. Welcome to 50. Welcome to 50. That's it.
Thank you, Miss Andrews. So my son was bragging to me this morning, Brian.
Oh, he was there. I saw him in the results.
That he finished 15th in his age category.
He's got a tough age group.
I said, Brian, don't brag on that. That's not but anyway.
He has a tough age group.
But yes, he did. And he said that he had a wonderful time. So thank you for all you've done on that. I don't know. I don't want to know. 15th is still 15th.
We got a lot of people there.
With that, we will stand adjourned. Thank you very much.